advice or make diagnoses? No, I am not. So why am I here? I am here because I have lived with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom for about 6 or so years of my adult life, and I'm on the other side of that. How can I be so confident I'm on the other side? Well, it's because I have gone through 3 major bouts of severe illness, and I have recovered each time. And yes, I did relapse twice. However, I feel like I have figured out not only how to heal faster each time, but also now how to help myself avoid relapse in the future. So, what do I talk about here? I don't talk about the specific treatments or supplements or like doctors that I worked with, because you know what? Me as one person, I needed completely different things to heal each and every single time. So, if there is no one magic silver bullet for me as one person, there's no way there's one magic silver bullet for all of you out there. So what helped me heal then was actually my mindset. My mindset is what kept me going. It's what kept me motivated. It's what kept me hopeful. It's what kept me searching for the answers, even when everyone in my life was telling me that there were none to be found. Surprise, surprise, I found a bunch of answers by continuing to look. And I credit my mindset with getting to where I am today. When I say that I'm on the other side of ill health, I mean that I am back to work full time. I am planning for my future. I have a social life again. I can work out whenever I want to, doing things that I really freaking enjoy and not have to think twice about it anymore. And this is after being so ill that I had to leave work on 3 occasions. When I say leave work, I mean take extended leaves of absence. The longest one being almost 2 years out of work. And I've lost income, lost a job because of it, lost relationships, lost friendships, definitely weakened some family relationships as a result of being so ill for so long and people not really understanding what I was going through. And, so like I get it, I've been there. And the reason I do this YouTube channel is because I want to share what worked for me. I want to share my take on the answers. I want to help give you more hope and motivation to help you visualize for yourselves what the healing journey may actually look like. So many of us think that the healing journey is just going to be linear. It's like, oh, I'm going to get a little bit better and I'm going to get better and I'm going to get better and I'm going to get better. And then one day I'll be all better. And that is not how it works. You're going to be going up and down and backwards and in circles and all over the place. My own healing journey kind of looked like this very fast downward trend, and then it kind of plateaued, and then I got a little better, and then it plateaued, and then I get better, and then I'm gonna get worse and better and worse and better and worse, and then slowly get better. Oh, and then I would relapse and start the whole process over again, right? It's a crazy, crazy path, and we have to have the right mindset in order to keep going. Because if we expect it to be a linear one, and it's not, that brings on a whole other emotional element to healing that really gets in the way of our goals, of regaining our health, because it becomes when we expect our health to go a certain way and it doesn't, it becomes very depressing. It becomes very demotivating. People can really struggle with certain aspects of it if they don't have the right mindset, if they don't have the right expectations in place for health. The way this Q&A works every week is that you guys show up with your questions. You drop them into the chat box. I'm never sure which way to point, because when I'm looking at my screen right now while it's recording, if I point this direction, I'm pointing right at the chat box. But when I've watched myself afterwards, it looks like the chat box is actually over there. So wherever the chat box is, go leave your questions there. If you don't have questions, just say hi. I would like to know who's on. I would like to know where you're from. And I will answer any question about life with severe chronic fatigue. No question is too big or too small, too personal or too weird, too offensive, too anything. I will pretty much talk about it all. And if I don't feel comfortable talking about it, I'll just say that no offense taken. So go ahead and start getting those typed up, you guys. I wanted to take a minute here at the beginning to talk about the Facebook group. There isn't much happening on the Facebook group. I feel like I post in there once a week. Oh, back up. If you're not familiar with the Facebook group, oh, there's Darius. If you're not familiar with it, it is a place I have created. It's a private space. You have to get approved to join, where we can just talk to one another, get support from one another, kind of cultivate the healing mindset, and also a place for you guys to connect more often throughout the week if you want more support than just here on Thursdays. I've been posting in there like once a week, and it doesn't really get a lot of attention or traction. I'm kind of struggling to figure out what you guys would like to see from me in there. So if you're in the Facebook group or if you want to join, I would love to hear from you. What do you want to see in there? What would you like on a weekly basis? Or if it isn't anything you want from me, if you just want to start connecting with each other more often, then I invite you to begin posting in there more frequently. Ask questions, share little snippets about your own journey, share your own challenges, share your wins. Let's just use it to connect. But if there is anything you would like from me in there, then I would definitely like to hear that so I can start giving you more. Let's see. Okay, Raf says the chat box is to my left. So this is my left side. So this is to my left. Okay, got it. Thank you. Let's see. So while you guys are getting your questions ready, I guess I'll need to come up with something to talk about other than the Facebook group. I am sitting next to an open door here. If it gets too noisy, let me know and I can just shut that door. I just wanted to keep it open for now because it's a beautiful day outside. Let some sunlight in and let some fresh air in. Okay, Raf doesn't use Facebook anymore. That's why he left. Does learning French count as working on something you love every day for an hour? If you love the French language, then yeah. So I think where Raf's question is coming from, to fill in the rest of you, this is a little bit of a controversial thing for me to say. Maybe not controversial, but it's loaded. It's a loaded suggestion where I do think it is helpful and motivating, and it helps generate self-esteem and confidence when you're severely ill if you have something that you're working on while you're ill. You have some kind of project, something you can do. And obviously it has to be something you can break down into tiny little small pieces, something you can do within your energy envelope, something you can do within your attention span, and something that isn't going to lead to a crash, and something you can fit inside your capabilities, which for some people is going to be pretty small, so it's going to be challenging to find something you can do. But I think it's totally worthwhile because having a project and being able to make progress on that project, however small, is actually a great reminder that we do have some abilities, that we can continue to shape our lives and live them in ways that we choose sometimes. And it's also a really great exercise in exercising that muscle of working within the constraints that we have. It's a really great way to apply that sort of critical thinking and creative thinking to living with constraints. All people live with constraints in some way or another in their personal and professional lives. And when you're severely ill with chronic fatigue as a symptom, your limitations and constraints become absolutely massive. And we tend to assume that means we can't do anything. But whenever we do make small amounts of progress towards something, we can look back over the past month, over the past 3 months, over the past year, and see what we've been able to accomplish anyway. It really does a lot emotionally to keep us going. So Raf, if you enjoy learning French, that sounds like a great activity because you can practice any language for 5 minutes or an hour or however much energy and brain power you have available for that day. And it's the kind of thing where over time, as you develop more vocabulary, a better understanding of the language, you take that progress with you, and you have that body of work growing behind you of oh, yeah, I could only do 5 minutes a day, but you know what? That 5 minutes a day still got me somewhere. It's still worth doing, still a reason to keep going and trying for things. So where that originally came from is, I totally wouldn't recommend this to anybody, and it ended up completely failing because of my health issues. But the first time I was severely ill, I was actually working on launching a business. I worked on it, on average or at most 1 hour a day. I had 1 hour a day I could sit and actually think and process and make decisions and move the business forward. Some days I had 0 times. Sometimes I had 0 energy or brain power to work on the business, but I was working on a business in such a way that that was okay. I could go at my own pace. And it took me many, many months to get this business launched. Whereas if I was healthy, it would have taken like no time at all, like maybe a couple months. But I just went at my slow pace, got everything built on my marketing pages, sales pages, made connections for marketing. And when I was finally ready, I launched. And I launched in a way that I felt was successful. I had a couple thousand users right out of the gate. And, the business needed certain things from me that I couldn't give it though. So I had to shut the whole thing down, which was heartbreaking to have to give up a project like that. But having a project while I was severely ill was still a good thing for me. I would just personally recommend something that isn't going to grow beyond what you're capable of giving, which is what I had done. So I had to lose it. Raf says, working on something that requires focus is also really healthy because it makes you present and gives you theta brainwaves, very healing waves. Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. So like whether you're ill or whether you're well, having some kind of project you're working on, focusing on, dedicating yourself to, working on within your constraints is going to be good for you. So if you can build that habit now of having little projects and always making small amounts of progress on them, it's a habit you can take into your life once you have your health back. I do believe that nearly everybody is capable of finding their health again. I do think it is extremely challenging to discover everything we need to heal. And yet I think it is the most valuable work you can do when you're still ill. The most valuable work you can do is pursuing your health. It's completely worth every bit of energy and effort that it takes, provided you're avoiding crashes while doing so. If you're trying to heal so hard that you're crashing, you're actually getting in the way and making it harder for yourself. So got to put that caveat out there. Raf, you often you often provide really interesting, like thought-provoking questions and share interesting tidbits. I'm going to ask you off the cuff, put you on the spot. What is one thing, Raf, that you think all people living with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom should know? Let's see what you can bring. What does your brain come up with? All right. Something Raf has noticed with me and with other people is that in the beginning, the videos are very specific, telling people what to do and how to do it. And then later videos are more abstract about mindset, etc. I think there's a reason for that. It's not that there's like some preset plan people follow when they start sharing about healing journeys. I think it's about once you start talking about how you've healed and you start reflecting on your own journey, and once you start interacting with people more often, I think you just come to a realization that what you did and how you did it has some importance, it has some relevance, it has some value in being shared, but like, how did you know to do that thing? How did you know to connect with the people that helped you do those things? Like, what are the underlying drivers that got you to the place where you discovered the things that helped you heal? And once you start thinking about that, you realize it all comes down to mindset, and you realize that, what worked for you isn't necessarily going to work for anybody else. You realize that there's 1,000 ways to get better from this stuff. And the one thing that everyone I know has healed, has used to get better, is the right mindset. And the people who I know who have healed, the number one thing they take with them into their lives as healthy people is that mindset. It's profoundly life-changing, because you're not going to heal from this without, the vast majority of people are not going to heal from this without the right mindset. And once you develop that mindset, you never go back. Like, it is with you for life. You're all about maintaining that life set, improving that mindset, and creating a life that comes from that mindset that continues to develop more health and well-being that keeps you away from illness. So I think it's just a natural evolution in thinking about these things, talking to people about them, that you realize that the what and the how like has that much value in comparison to like building the right mindset, which has all the value. That's how I came to it. And I think that's how I've watched other people come to it over time as well. So thank you for that insight. That's a helpful one. My glasses are completely fogged up. I can barely see. Not fogged up. They're greasy with my fingerprints, I should say. Let's see here. All right. Any questions? I'm here to answer them with my take. Let's see. Yeah, there's absolutely value in understanding how our bodies work and, but like, I was watching this morning, actually, for some work related things. I was watching Jen Brea's TED Talk. If you have never heard of Jen Brea, let me type her name in the chat so you can Google her. Google Jen Brea TED Talk. She was diagnosed with myalgic encephalomyelitis, aka chronic fatigue syndrome, after being a PhD student at Harvard. She developed a fever. She never really got better, tons of fatigue and pain. The doctors all did all the tests and said she was completely fine. A neurologist diagnosed her as having compersion. Oh, why can't I remember what this is called? I don't think it's what I said. No, not that. Conversion disorder. That's what it's called. Conversion disorder. And which basically means that yes, all of your symptoms are real, but they are just caused by your brain. Trauma happened that you can't remember, and that's why you're in pain, because your brain's making you hurt. Which of course is completely dismissive and offensive and unhelpful. So Jen listened to this neurologist. She didn't really believe that it was just all being made up by her brain. But, as a PhD student, someone who was becoming a social scientist, she wanted to give some validity to his diagnosis. So she's like, okay, well, let me test this out. Let's see what happens. Even though I feel extremely tired, if there's really nothing wrong with me biologically, I should be able to walk 2 miles home, even though she doesn't feel like she has the energy. So she forced herself to walk home from that doctor's appointment, 2 miles. Her body was racked with pain that entire walk. She gets home, she collapses on the floor, and that kicks off years of severe MECFS. When she gave the TED Talk, it had been 4 years since that neurologist's appointment, and the way she says it is that she still had never regained her health. Her health still had never been as good as it had been inside that neurologist's office. So that diagnosis of conversion disorder caused her massive, massive harm, which is just heartbreaking. So Jen Brea went online and found out there's an entire community of people living with the same symptoms who had similar origin stories as hers, and she realized how little funding and how little scientific research is going into MECFS. And she made it her life's mission to then advocate for patients' rights with MECFS, and also to advocate for more funding for research from governments. And in order to accomplish that, she has founded a nonprofit that is very active in the MECFS community, hosting events, bringing in lots of donations. She directed the documentary Unrest, which chronicles the lives of people living with MECFS today, and has also given her TED Talk. So as amazing as Jen Brea is, she did all these things while still massively ill with MECFS. she's healed from it. And she has healed from it in a completely different way than I have. She healed from it through surgery. It turns out that she had a very rare and very specific disorder where the muscles that hold her skull up on her spine were weakened. And it just takes millimeters of movement for the skull shifting from these weak muscles for the body to be unable to function properly. It changes blood flow, oxygen flow. It changes the way internal fluids are able to flow, and it just causes all kinds of problems. So she had a surgery which fixed the positioning of her skull relative to her spine, and she has made what seems to be a miraculous full recovery very quickly as a result of this surgery. So, Jen Brea needed nothing I needed to heal. I needed nothing she needed to heal. And yet we both got our lives back from things where we both went to multiple specialists, had all the blood work done, were told everything was normal, dismissed as, just being too stressed out, just having trauma, just whatever. But Jen Brea is exceptional because it was still, I think it was another 2 years after her TED Talk that, I think it was another 2 years after that before she had that surgery that helped her get better, before she found answers. And she has said herself, she said it in her TED Talk. She broached this subject in the Unrest documentary. She feels like without community of other people, without having the right mindset, that she probably would have killed herself before she ever found answers. Because we do hit moments where we have no hope. We see no reason to move forward. I think we probably all have reached those moments where we're not sure why we continue on with life when it seems so hard and so pointless and so meaningless. And that's where that mindset to continue forward, to continue looking for answers, how we look for answers, how we build up and retain our hope and our motivation is so important. Is so important, because just as important as finding what we need is keeping ourselves going. It really is. It's a really foundational thing. And many people lose that hope and motivation to continue going. And it breaks my heart to think about that. And I'm sharing all of this, I guess to kind of partly support why I don't spend a lot of time talking about exactly what helped me. I do, I'll answer some questions. I'll talk about it here and there, but I don't say it as this is what you need, because it may not be. Chances are it probably isn't. And to underline how important mindset is and how important it is to find your own motivation and to build up and sustain your own hope to keep going forward. Raf says, I do believe there are psychosomatic factors, but I don't think emotions are the root cause. If your blood gets acidic, you start hyperventilating, which restricts blood flow to your tissues, creating lactate, making your blood even more acidic, which is a psychosomatic mechanism. Yeah, stress absolutely plays a role in the experience of our symptoms. But that's different from this conversion disorder she was diagnosed with. So with conversion disorder, they're saying that there's no biological cause for her pain or her experiences, meaning they're saying that there is nothing they can ever test to discover any imbalances or any reason why she feels the way she does. Like a psychosomatic feedback loop where we feel stress, we produce hormones in response to emotions that we're feeling, and that influences our physical body very directly. But that's creating imbalances. That's creating something we can test for. That's creating a physical, it's creating a physical issue. So So that's where like a psychosomatic feedback loop is different than this conversion disorder she's diagnosed with, or being simply written off as having anxiety and having it being an entirely hormonal issue. Sensitization. Excuse me. Roth says sensitization plays a role in pain and fibro and CFS, probably in fatigue. Also, I can't decide what I should choose that everyone should know. Roth, you don't think there's one important thing you think everybody should know? I'm just curious. You know, I think it's interesting to hear what people have to say because everyone's going to have a different answer to that. Sensitization does play a big role, but sensitization is also a response to ill health. Like I'm not sure what I want to say about sensitization. I'm not sure I know enough of the biology to say what I want to say. So I think I'm just going to leave it. But it is well documented. People with severe health issues either become more sensitive to pain as time goes on, or the sensitization to pain comes first and produces symptoms that seem to be disproportionate to what is physically going wrong. Like somebody with like, you know, the example that's coming to mind is somebody with, let's say IBS, let's say they get diagnosed with IBS. Maybe they do have some physical issues with their bowels, but they seem very minor physical issues with their bowels other than the symptoms that they're having. And sometimes they can have excruciating experiences of pain. Just mild gas can create excruciating pain, for example. And this sensitization seems to precede the serious health issues. And I think there's still a lot of questions as to why and how that can be. That the sensitization comes first and produces massive responses to what seem to be minor issues. But I guess I just wanted to make that distinction about sensitization. It can either be a result of, it seems to be either a result of disease, or sometimes it can precede the disease. But it does seem to be a neurological response to something happening in the body that, as far as I know, isn't super well understood. All right, so I stumbled through that one a little bit. Woo-woo-ologist PhD. That's a really funny name. Woo-woo-ologist. I think cortisol, as I just popped by here, inflammation protocols. Yep, thanks ahead of time. Let's see, cortisol. What about cortisol? Woo-woo-ologist. Your boyfriend named you that. That's cute. That's super adorable. I like that. I kind of resonate with that, woo-woo-ologist, because a lot of people seem to feel like mindset stuff and like, yeah, a lot of people seem to think that mindset stuff is a little woo-woo. It's a little out there. It doesn't seem concrete and practical, when really it's entirely practical. I mean, it's all based on how our mind interacts with our biology. I can't think of, I mean, it's extremely foundational for our physical experience. Okay, interesting. Okay, well, when we get triggered from trauma, let's see. I want to give you time to type things up and like get everything's clear. I don't know what level your brain fog is at today, so I don't want to like pressure you, stress you out to like getting your response out immediately. I'll try to like fill it in with a little bit of like chit chat or whatever, so that you feel like you have the time you need to get your thoughts out in words. Oh, you're going to call yourself self-help queen, but it wasn't voted for. Don't apologize for the name. I think it's great. Like, I just kind of had to say it out loud once to get it. But once I said it, now I get it, and I think it's wonderful. So Yeah, I mean, cortisol can mess things up, but not everybody with MECFS has messed up cortisol. You know, like some people's cortisol is pretty great when they have this. Like my cortisol wasn't good, but it definitely wasn't bad. The first time I had my cortisol tested, actually, the practitioner I was working with was actually surprised. He's like, wow, for your level of fatigue, he's like, I'm really surprised that your cortisol isn't a lot worse than it is. But it just goes to show you that, like, for me, there were other things happening. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, whatever you want to contribute, woo-woologist, I welcome it. And, you know, whatever feels like too much, then don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. You haven't been back to the doctors much since your catastrophic injury 22 years ago. Oh my goodness. 22 years. That is a very, very long time to be dealing with this. And I understand not going back to the doctors much. So welcome, woo-woologist, since I definitely have not noticed your name here before. You know, when it comes to doctors, my take is that we just have to accept the fact that the vast majority of doctors cannot help us. They do not have the training to understand our symptoms. They can't even understand our symptoms properly because of their training. They don't have the tools needed to help us. They don't know what blood work we need. They don't know what to look for. Even if we showed them, you know, the blood work, they wouldn't know what to do about it. They are just unable to help us. However, there are people out there who can. There are people out there who specialize in these rare, poorly understood, maybe not so rare, poorly understood medical conditions. And they have a history of helping people. I mean, we need to search to find those practitioners and doctors and other medical professionals who do have the background to understand our symptoms, who do understand how to approach health issues like ours, who do know what blood work, who do know what treatments, who have that experience to guide us through the treatments and supplementation and ups and downs of healing. Who also understand that the journey is not a linear one, but it's going to be a very crazy, messy, all over the place one. So, you know, whenever you find a doctor who you think may be able to help you, it's not about deciding in advance that you're going to see this doctor and hope that they have the answers for you. I think the helpful mindset around finding doctors is actually thinking of your first appointment with any doctor as an interview, where you are interviewing them. Like if you are like the manager of your own health, which we all are, you're out there trying to find your team to help you heal. All right. And just like the owner of a company, they don't have to do everything, but the CEO does have to set a vision for the company, and they have to hire the right people to help the company get there. That's the role you're filling as a patient. So you go see a doctor once, there are no decisions about whether or not you're going to see them a second time have been made yet. You're there to see, how do they listen? How do they speak to you? How much and what types of information do they share with you? Do they feel like a partner in your health journey with you? Does it feel like it's going to be a good, helpful, beneficial relationship for you to work together? Because even if all the other pieces are there, if you have like some major personality disconnect, or their methods or their pace just doesn't work for you, then you're not going to be a good fit to work together, right? So it's about interviewing doctors until you find the person who can actually help you. And a lot of those people stand outside of conventional medicine. You're going to have to go looking online. They're going to have their own standalone practices. Maybe they're not a registered like medical doctor. Maybe they're not an actual MD. Maybe they have some other title. Maybe they have no title at all. But it's about searching and searching for those people who feel like they're going to be a good fit for you, and then they might have some answers for you, and then interviewing them until you find the right person. And it took me years and years. I didn't have that amazing one person, that amazing one doctor or anything help me heal the first time. It was several people in different stages helping me get where I needed to go. But even finding those people, even though they only got me through a very small part of my healing journey, they were absolutely crucial for my overall journey. All right, let me catch up. Let's see, woo-wooologist, I don't know what most terms are, but I have autoimmune now, hypothyroid, and now start of psoriatic. So I also have autoimmune hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's. I got that diagnosis very early on in my health journey. Got put on thyroid medication, thought that that was all I would need to be better, and that turned out not to be the case. It helped, but like it helped like that much because there were so many other things that had gone wrong by that point. I do still have autoimmune hypothyroidism, but the cool part is it seems to be getting better. Every time I get my antibodies tested, my antibody numbers have been going down over the years. So, dedication to a healthy life definitely can help overcome autoimmune disease. Doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. All right, let's see. Oh my God, I know I am so with you. That's why when I found you, I resonated. Oh, I love hearing that. Thanks again. And I am a big fan of catastrophic surgery if it's actually needed, and subtle and finessed therapy. Yeah, I think, medication, surgery, like all this stuff has a place, but I think it's about making sure that it's actually what we need. It's actually going to address a root cause problem that can't be addressed another way. And the one thing I want to say about making sure that you actually need surgery is that, there's this old like phrase, like it goes something like, to a carpenter, like his tool is a nail. I'm butchering this analogy. So like when you have a carpenter, his like main tool is his hammer, right? And like when you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. All right. If a hammer is the tool you have, you're just going to like start hitting things to get that nail in, right? Similarly, if you're a surgeon, the tool they have is surgery. They're going to recommend surgery for things that maybe don't need surgery. And I have a great personal story for this. So like a year and a half, no, why don't I remember how long ago this was? It was over a year and a half ago. It was August 2018. August 2018. You can see my scar here, kind of. I was riding my one wheel and I fell and I broke both of my arm bones, and they recommended surgery to keep this bone together. They said there was a high chance of it shifting because it was such a clean break. So they wanted to put a plate in. This is like this little mole is like the end of my scar. It goes all the way up here. So the surgery went well. My recovery went really well. I healed really well. I did all my physical therapy. I healed from physical therapy very quickly. And I was getting back to normal after a couple months. And then I developed tendinitis in this wrist. Tendinitis, meaning like the tendons, one of the tendons in my wrist here, one of the ones that connects to my thumb, was swelling, and it was getting caught on the little tubes that it travels through. The little tubes keep it in place, and it was getting caught on those. So it was jerky, and it was painful, and it was swollen, and it was limiting. Like I had a hard time, like I couldn't like pick up a cup like this because I couldn't like hold my thumb out here. I couldn't like turn a doorknob. So it was very limiting to have this tendinitis. And, I gave the tendinitis another like 6 weeks or something to heal, and it's not getting better. I'm trying all these things. I go back to the surgeon and I was like, hey, this tendinitis, I'm really not sure what to do. And she's like, well, we could have surgery again. We can do surgery. We can just clip open those tunnels that the tendon's getting caught on, and you'll feel all better. And I'm like, surgery to fix tendinitis? I was like, surgery is what got me in this problem in the first place. I developed tendinitis as a result of going back to my normal life too quickly after surgery because the physical therapist told me to, and it wasn't the right thing for me. So I began looking for other answers, and, there's a lot of alternative therapies to addressing tendinitis that are not surgery. And it's taken me a long time. Here I am sitting over a year after I last saw the surgeon, telling her about my tendinitis. Over a year ago, she told me to get surgery again. And I am finally, I feel like at 98% better. Like I'm still strengthening my wrist, but I can like do a little bit of yoga. I can like put pressure on it. I can pick things up without worrying about it. But if I had listened to that surgeon, if I had listened to that first opinion, I would have gone back and had surgery again. And that isn't something I wanted to do. I didn't want to put myself through that financially, didn't want to put myself through that physically. And who knows what secondary issues could have come as a result of yet another surgery. So that's my take on like getting surgery. Is there a time and a place? Absolutely. Don't regret getting that first surgery. But I got a lot of second opinions on that second surgery she recommended, and I'm glad I did. Let's see. All right, woo-ologist, such a good name. You have 7 years of Medicaid. You were helped for some need, healthy, flu and virus wise, medical industry. I know, right? If you're a truthologist, they may be rubbed the wrong way. Absolutely. Yes, Hashimoto's, but only from initial diagnosis 4 months ago. Oh, wow. You were on thyroid meds, most prescribed med in 2017. I know thyroid meds are extremely common. Like 10% of the American population has thyroid issues. It's very common. It's definitely doled out by the medical industry, but there is a need for thyroid meds. When it comes to thyroid meds, you know, I need it. I personally need it. Even though my autoimmune disorder is getting better, part of my thyroid has been destroyed and I don't have an entire thyroid organ anymore. I'm going to need supplements to have enough thyroid hormone circulating in my body, and that's just the way it is. I do agree it's a bit of a shill. There are many different varieties of thyroid hormone, and I think it's worth finding a doctor who's very knowledgeable about autoimmune disorders and different brands and types of thyroid medication, because you probably need to test out different medications to find the right one for you, because they all have different fillers. They're all slightly different from one another. The doctors will tell you they're all the same. It's not true. They're not all the same. When you get on the right medication, your body is going to be like, oh, this is what I needed. And like things will just start making a lot more sense once you get on the right stuff. Oh, you're starting a channel. That's great. Yeah, let's talk about an interview. You have your address and your description. So I can't actually like view. So like in the live chat here, I can't like click on your name and like look at your channel or like your profile or anything. So like I don't have like direct access to that, unfortunately. It was a huge injury for me. Yep, it's all okay. You have ACL issues, to put it mildly, but surgery would be a bad idea for you for now. That's fair too. A lot of people who are very ill take surgery very seriously, because it is very risky. It is very exhausting on the body to have to recover. It can be dangerous being in hospitals for that extended period of time, especially if you feel like you have a compromised immune system or otherwise just not super healthy. You had 6 emergency surgeries on a leg at 19. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Let's see, Anna. Hey, Anna. Good to see you again. You totally agree with the hammer example. Nearly every doctor wants you to do a different diet because nutrition seems to be their favorite tool. I know. And I know like my stance on nutrition has changed a little bit in the past few months, and I've been like working through how I talk about it. But I've started to feel like nutrition is an overused tool as well. I feel like we put these huge, ginormous expectations on what nutrition is going to do for our bodies and for our health. And for most people, they just don't see that big of a change from their diet. Like there are some people who do. But I would say personally, most of the people I know who have been helped by diet, myself included, the gains from diet are short term. People can initially feel really amazing, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a year, but then all those issues that are there that diet doesn't address still need to be figured out somehow. But people have like been given this expectation that by eating the right diet, everything's going to get better. And when that doesn't happen, people really struggle, and people go back to their diet look for all of the answers. And I just personally don't think it has all the answers for the vast majority of people. That's a little bit of a rant right there. It's my own opinion. I'm not saying it's truth. I'm not saying to stop eating a certain way if it's good, if it's working for you. I just feel like we need to like put diet out there as a tool, which it is a tool. I think it's a tool, but I don't think it's a solution for the vast majority of people. I think it's a tool. I think it's a stepping stone on the journey. I'll stop. Woo Woo says totally a time and place for meds, just need to be accurate and for personal needs and preferences. To be clear, yeah, it takes a lot of research. It does. Has to be the right treatment, and there are not enough good doctors. Can't agree with you more. Anna says, even though her nutrition was never a problem and different diets did never ever have an effect on your health either, bad or good, and no symptoms, and no symptom includes stomach. So one. I'm not sure about that last sentence there, Anna. But yeah, like you're one of those people where diet isn't a solution for you. Is it going to help other things in your body? Like, yeah, sure. Like I think we could all use more micronutrients. I think we could all stand to either take some of the right supplements or, eat more of the right foods or whatever. I think that's going to help. But let's keep the expectations realistic here for diet. Woo-woo's 45, but still spunky. You're welcome. I'm glad you're here. How do I feel about hydration? My views on hydration have evolved over time because of my own experiences. As I drink some more tea, hydration can be a double-edged sword. We definitely want to drink enough water, but I think that there's a big problem whenever we recommend drink water, even if you don't want it, even if you're peeing too much, even if you don't enjoy it, even if it doesn't feel good, just force yourself to drink a gallon of water a day. I think that creates lots of problems whenever we ignore the messages our body is sending us, or whenever we force things on ourselves that don't feel good for an extended period of time. If you want to try drinking, a gallon of water a day and see how that makes you feel, and you want to dedicate to that for like 2 weeks or something, like, okay, cool. That's like a short-term test. But so many people just read that drinking a gallon of water is the right thing to do. So they force themselves to do it, regardless of anything about how they feel or what their body is telling them about drinking that much water. I don't want to see people doing that. I don't want to see people ignoring their body's messages long term without really, really good reasons to. And I don't think that they say that amount of water is healthy is a good enough reason. If it makes you feel good, awesome. If it doesn't, don't freaking do it. I've actually been feeling better. I'd say in the past year or so, I stopped forcing myself to drink water and I just allow myself to drink it when I'm thirsty. And I don't really drinking less water doesn't seem to be doing anything bad for me. My skin is not worse. My health issues are not worse. I had massive detox problems even when I was drinking tons of water. My water intake doesn't seem to be influencing, what's going on for me. So I think when you are going to hydrate, I think it's important to do so. I love drinking tea because there's things in the tea. The tea infuses the water, not just with flavor, but it's putting nutrients into that tea. And when you're consuming that, you're not just consuming water, you're consuming nutrients. And I drank super filtered water. Actually, this shiny metal thing right here is a really awesome water filter system. It's a Berkey. It's a big Berkey, which is super filtering, gets rid of almost everything in the water. It's almost pure water. I actually add minerals back into it because if you're not consuming enough minerals with your water, just drinking straight water can actually cause the body to lose nutrients. Because your body always wants to balance out. Well, I don't think I want to get into that. I don't want to talk about that right now. But it can cause you to lose nutrients over time if you're just drinking too much pure water and you're not getting enough minerals and other nutrients in with your water and your food. So that's what I think about hydration. I do think it's important to have a lot of salt. I think a lot of people don't have enough salt in their diet. We've all become very afraid of salt. But the science shows that as long as you don't have hypertension, salt really isn't that detrimental to your health. Okay. I got a lot to catch up on here. You guys have been talking without me, and I love that. I love when you guys interact. Let's see, Anna, when I hear them talking about nutrition, she's just all eye roll. Your nutrition is great as it is. Thank you. That's right. See, like, I think it's good to know some things about yourself and to stand firm in those. You know, we all want to be open-minded and try new things, but when you have tried some things, it's okay to sometimes be like, been there, done that. I'm good. Ralph wants to know more about Lisa's recovery. So Ralph, I reached out to Lisa. She hasn't been on in like a month or something. I reached out to her. She's okay. She's doing well. I don't know if she's here today. I haven't seen her comment yet. It doesn't look like she's here. But next time she's on, that'd be a great thing to ask her. Or maybe, I guess you're not in the Facebook group anymore, so don't ask there. Anna says, Ralph, me too. We all want to know about Lisa's recovery. She commented on every CFS video that exists, but she managed to absorb all that info and mold it into something that helps her. I'm copying this and I'm gonna send it to Lisa and make sure she sees it. We'll see if we can get her on. Woo woo, I cycle through the answers. LOL, health remedies are a journey, not all tools are hammers. That's right. Woo woo uses real salts, many missing microminerals. Yeah, I've used real, I cycle my salts. Like, I think variety is essential for good health. So like I've gone through a number of bags of real salts. I'm currently back on like a pink Himalayan salt, also like a white rock salt in a grinder. I don't know. I do it all. Even just some like normal table salt with iodine added. I use that sometimes. Ralph says, I have benefited from lots of oil, probably because they reduce NO synthesis. But both the paleo and plant-based folks disrecommend oils, which is another example of what works versus what works on paper. Yeah, everybody's going to be different and need different things. I don't know that I've seen paleo disrecommend oils. I mean, paleo, I think, highly recommends like extra virgin olive oil. For example, they definitely say to stay away from highly refined vegetable oils. So like no canola oil, no peanut oil, no like vegetable oils, no corn oil, because, you know, when's the last time you bit into an oily ear of corn? Like, it's extremely highly processed oil, for example. I mean, the paleo folks are not recommending highly like industrial vegetable oils because of the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Like those, like canola oil, vegetable oil is extremely high in omega-6s, and our modern diets are too high in omega-6s. The balance of omega-6s to omega-3s gets thrown off, and that leads to high inflammation. So those oils you're talking about are very high pro-inflammatory oils, but extra virgin olive oil is great monounsaturated fats. Let's see, woo woo, balance in all things as much as possible. Yep. Path of least resistance for me. Amen. Abe Hicks. I'm just sounding off. I think people need to think for themselves. They do. I think it's about taking in info, applying some of it, testing things out, knowing what works for you and what doesn't, and moving forward from there. Great point. Raf says, on the hydration topic, eat enough salt. With the coming heat waves, it combats orthostatic intolerance in CFS. That it absolutely does. More salt is going to increase blood volume, which will help with things like orthostatic intolerance, if that's something you're experiencing. Woo-woo, empowered self is best self, probably, definitely. All different body types. Raf says, yes, except for in the morning. I feel better if I only drink water when my body asks for it. Yes. Woo-woo says, oils. Yes, thanks for the reminder. Raf, hello. Thanks for your patience. I like to communicate. Woo woo. Yes, I add real salt to water. Want to structure it. I want to live up to my name. Woo. Structure water. I'm a believer in salt. Raf says, why no canola oil? It has a good unsaturated fatty acids profile because of the omega-6s. Extremely high omega-6s, making it very pro-inflammatory in the body. Woo Woo says, great info. This is helpful. Yay. I'm so glad you guys are connecting and helping one another. Your canola oil omega ratio is 1:3. I thought it was a fine 1:3, 1 part omega 3s to 3 parts omega 6s. Is that what you're saying, Roth? Because if so, like the ideal ratio, I have to look this up. I think the ideal ratio is 1:1, but I might have forgotten that. Okay, yeah, I did forget that. So here's the thing. Like they say that, well, maybe I feel like I need to do a little more research to talk about this confidently. So here's the thing. Most people today have a ratio of omega 6 to omega 3 of something like 10:1 or like 50:1. So like we have way more, like 10 times to 50 times more omega 6s in our bodies than we do omega 3s. And that promotes inflammation, which is highly tied to chronic lifestyle diseases and all kinds of nasty stuff. And if we're eating canola oils, even if they are like 3:1, that's not going to be doing much to reverse the unhealthy levels in our bodies. We need to really skew way more towards those omega 3s over time to help balance out that ratio. Like if we have a great ratio, then maybe including some canola oils isn't going to be too bad because it's going to be within that healthy range. But for the vast majority of people, we're not in that healthy range. We need to get there. Yeah. French fries. Woo Woo says canola oil is usually used in restaurants. Ask them. I know, but the fried oil can bother bladder lining. Just a thing you picked up. French fries. Oh, in restaurants, my favorite, staying away, another inflammatory. Anyway, I do my best without being a tyrant. Attitude and mantra is important. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. It absolutely does. So Raf. So the omega ratios are important. If you have a healthy ratio already, canola oil is probably not a bad addition. But it's something I choose not to eat, partially because of the omegas, but also because canola oil comes from the rapeseed plant, which is almost entirely a GMO plant. And the GMO part doesn't bother me as much as the fact that these GMO seeds are either bred to produce their own pesticides. They contain their own pesticides, meaning we're consuming that stuff whenever we consume these products, or they're designed to be sprayed heavily with pesticides, meaning we're still getting exposure to those pesticides. But even worse, I think, is that the environment is getting exposed to massive quantities of pesticides by growing crops like rapeseed in order to make such massive amounts of canola oil. And I don't want to support those industries. So like if I'm out and we want to get something fried, like as a treat every now and then, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to say like, oh, my principles or whatever. I'm still going to eat it every now and then if I'm enjoying myself, but it's not something I buy for my house. I don't cook with it. Let's see. Woo Woo says red flag rapeseed. I know. Well, that's why they had to rebrand it to canola oil, because who's going to buy, no one's going to buy a product in the grocery store with the word rape on it. Yeah. All right, you guys, we're at about an hour. I have a ton of work I need to get done today. I have just been like, oh my God, just in front of my laptop, like all the time, which has been really great. I'm getting a lot of stuff done, but it's a lot. Come here, Darius. Want to say goodbye? Come here. Come here, bud. Let's see if I can get him up here. Oh, come here, bud. Come here, buddy. This is Darius the Doberman. He doesn't like being up here. He just wants me to pet his neck. Anna says, I supplemented omega-3s, so now your ratio is 0.32, which is, wow, that's really amazing. That's really, I mean, like the fact that you could get there just from supplementing omegas is incredible. Woo Woo says, I don't anymore as it aggravates me. The beer aggravates me too, and sometimes I have it. Some days it doesn't, some days it doesn't. Yeah, alcohol and all the stuff that's in beer, totally, can be aggravating to our bodies and our intestines. Woo Woo says, when we enjoy our food, it's probably more healthy. Have a great day. Enjoyed. Thanks. Yeah, I think how we feel about the food we're eating and how we feel while we're eating food are important as well. I agree with that point. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much for great conversation. Woo Woo and Raf and Anna. I love it when you guys chime in and hang out with each other. If you guys have ideas for what you would like to see in the Facebook group, how we can, like, you know, connect more often, what you would like to get out of the Facebook group for more consistent, more frequent connections and support, I would love to hear it. Or if you just want to start posting more often in there yourself, I invite you to do that too. Bye, Anna. And we're going to do it again next week, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time zone. Sending you love and health. I'm Kristin. I'll see you next time. Bye.